$6 and change. That's the going rate for a pound of plain ground beef now. The everyday tube, not the grass-fed stuff. 9 years back, the same pound sat near $4. The price isn't even the strangest part. Pull 2 packages off one shelf, same afternoon, and cook them side by side. One darkens quickly and smells like dinner. The other leaks a gray puddle and steams itself pale in the pan. Identical labels. Opposite results. For most of your life, nothing printed on either package could explain that gap, and the industry preferred it that way. 6 months ago, the ground shifted. A federal standard took effect on January 1, 2026, outlawing the meat aisle's longest-running half-truth. Hardly anyone at a meat case tonight has heard, and plenty of retailers hope it stays that way. So we did the homework. 11 stores. Walmart, Costco, Target, plus 8 others, all graded on one scale built from 3 questions. 8 of the 11 flunk or walk away carrying a warning. 3 earn a clean pass. Recall records, federal paperwork, and $250 million building will do the arguing. Worst goes first. 2 stores tied at the bottom, so they arrive together. Number 8, Dollar General Market, and number 7, Mayor. Your instinct has always been to side-eye the beef under the cheapest tag. Keep the instinct. Here's what's underneath it. The overwhelming share of supermarket ground beef gets ground nowhere near the store selling it. It's packed and sealed at a central facility, trucked in from as far as several states away. The trade's polite name for the setup is case-ready. The person stocking it handles it like a carton of juice. To them, that's all it is. One facility supplies hundreds of locations for pennies a tray, every tray a photocopy of the last. On paper, efficient. In your skillet, a gamble. Because that tray was designed to look better than it should, for longer than it should. Packed under high oxygen conditions, the meat holds a showroom red for 10 to 14 days, where ordinary wrap would let the color drift within 3 to 7. As for the gray flood, federal food safety guidance notes that beef, frozen somewhere in transit, has its muscle fibers torn open by ice crystals, so the moment heat arrives, everything they held pours out. The puddle isn't damage, it's mileage, made visible. 2 quick rulings to set the floor. Dollar General Market faces our 3 questions. Is there an American origin claim that satisfies the new rule? Is a specific cut named? Does the package state where the grinding happened and when? It answers none. 0 out of 3. But nobody expects a dollar store to keep a knife-wielding professional behind glass. This is a failure of blankness, not of deceit. Mayor hurts more. A full supercenter, a beloved Midwest name, a counter-advertising daily fresh cutting. Yet every ground beef tray we checked went 0 for 3. The same score the dollar store got, from a chain with 50 times the goodwill. To be even-handed, both sell federally inspected beef at honest prices. What's on the tag is roughly what you get. The next chain can't lean on that defense, because it didn't just ride the anonymous beef machine, it helped assemble it. Worse than both, number 6, Kroger. Across half the country, Kroger is simply what your family means by the store, and that's what gives this entry its sting. When centralized packing needed its first major convert, Kroger raised its hand. Cargill's meat division put up a facility near Atlanta that existed to serve exactly one client, Kroger, handling the cutting, the grinding, the wrapping, even the pricing of Kroger's house brand meat before a single tray reached a shelf. A company spokesman laid the logic out publicly. Kroger wanted its people selling meat, not cutting it. Out went the in-store grinder, and the rest of American grocery marched out behind it. That Atlanta operation also handed the model its first public black eye. 190,000 pounds of ground meat pulled off the market after illnesses were traced to beef purchased at Kroger locations in Georgia. Kroger's own website today reads like a roll call for this video. Ground beef tubes from JBS and from Tyson, shelved against the house brand. Then the flagship, Kroger's organic grass-fed line, the most virtuous label in the case. Kroger's site discloses where those cattle actually lived. Uruguay. An ocean sits between that wholesome label and any pasture in America, and the disclosure lives on a company blog, not the front of the package. The same page lists a shelf life of 23 days from the manufacturer. File that number away, it comes back. Now the honest credit. In 2006, Kroger moved earlier than nearly any major competitor to walk away from carbon monoxide packaging on safety grounds. Real leadership, and that's the point. This company steered an entire industry into facelessness once. It has the weight to steer it back out. Speaking of who owns the machinery, number 5, Food Lion, whose beef supply just gained a famous proprietor. February 2024. In a press release with a tiny audience, Cargill, among the largest meat processors on Earth, disclosed it had bought 2 case-ready packing facilities from Food Lion's parent company. The very facilities already producing the store-brand ground beef on Food Lion shelves. And the customer list doesn't stop there. Giant, Hannaford, and Stop & Shop draw from it too. 5 banners, 5 logos, 5 separate flavors of hometown loyalty, all fed by one line. Drive 400 miles of East Coast, visit what feel like 4 unrelated grocers, and the ground beef in all 4 carts can trace back to a single address. Cargill's leadership even advertised the upside in print: store workers freed from hours of backroom meat prep. Read that again. The Pipe's owner announced, deliberately, that no one behind your local Food Lion touches your beef, and called it progress. Which raises a question. When 5 house brands share one origin, what does comparison shopping compare? Mostly signage. One more thing about that owner. Cargill agreed to pay $32.5 million, settling claims that it helped hold beef prices up for American shoppers. The company rejects the accusations, and no court has found it broke any law. Still, when the people packing your dinner settle for figures that size while your receipt keeps growing, skepticism is reasonable. In fairness, the product is uniform and inspected. Uniformity was the entire engineering goal. The packaging simply never got around to mentioning any of this. At least Food Lion's Pipe shows up in public filings. Number 4. Aldi runs a supply chain you can't see into at all. Here's the twist. Aldi's beef is often good. Browns well, undercuts nearly everyone. Genuine value. That's precisely what makes the setup uncomfortable, because Aldi operates as a closed system. No meat department, no counterstaff to question, no published list of beef suppliers, sourcing that quietly rotates by region, and labeling loose enough to accommodate every rotation. Put the question of origin to Aldi, and the truthful reply amounts to, it varies, and we're not telling. A good result at Aldi is luck. A pan of gray water is also luck, running the other way. Either way, the reason stays unknowable, because the system stays shut. It cracked open exactly once. In 2018, ground beef carrying a dangerous E. coli strain left a Cargill facility in Colorado. More than 132,000 pounds came back in the recall. People across several states fell ill. One person did not survive. When federal investigators mapped the distribution, discount stores like these across the Midwest sat along the route. The single genuine look the public ever got inside this system arrived as a recall document. In fairness, that outbreak is years behind us, and the everyday value is still real. A bargain price and a bad product are separate things, and Aldi proves the difference weekly. But a chain feeding this many households owes them an actual answer on origin, and it doesn't offer one. Aldi, at minimum, never posed as anything grander than it is. Number 3. Target built its meat case on credibility earned elsewhere in the building. You trust this company with school clothes, the pharmacy line, a good chunk of December. Decades of accumulated faith, which is exactly what makes it spendable. Drop a tray of ground beef into the red cart, and you naturally extend that faith to the meat. Don't. Groceries were grafted onto Target's general merchandise model, and the meat section shows the seams. The chain employs no in-store meat cutters. None, at any location. Every package arrives finished from somewhere else, in a selection so slim it reads as an obligation. Target also appears in the 2018 outbreak file. When regulators listed the stores that received the contaminated Cargill beef, Target locations showed up coast to coast the whole country, not one region. It's the discount tier's supply line under brighter lighting. You might object that Target never advertised a butcher. Correct. Then the pricing should say so, and it doesn't. You're paying specialty counter money for warehouse line beef, and ambience has never improved a sear. Credit where accurate. The refrigeration logistics are excellent, the presentation immaculate, the trays well sealed, a spotless operation, selling you an unknown. And that gray pool you've been blaming on your cookware? In a store whose nearest grinder is a highway trip away, the pool is the delivery route announcing itself. Target at least. Skip the costume budget. Number 2. Safeway. Spent it on a full production. Watch Safeway's counterman for 5 minutes. Legitimately skilled, real cuts made to order, featured proudly in the company's marketing, deservedly. Now look at the item you actually came for. The signature select ground beef tube. His hands have never been near it. It left a packing plant days earlier, possibly a state or two away, and got shelved beside his station. A stage set lending atmosphere to a prop. The counter advertises craftsmanship. The tube delivers freight. And the staging pays. Literally. Shoppers have recorded an identical product priced higher at the service counter than in the self-serve case steps away. The difference wasn't the meat. It was proximity to a man in an apron. This chain has long understood meat case presentation. Congress once summoned Safeway to justify gassing packaged meat with carbon monoxide, which pins the color at a reassuring red long after fading would have warned you. The industry has since largely abandoned the gas. The impulse behind it. Let the display outrun the facts. Evidently took longer to retire. But here's the reversal. That counterman is real, and he'll work for you. Request a chuck roast, ground fresh while you stand there. He'll do it. Now you hold a named cut, processed in front of witnesses, carrying today's date arguably the finest beef in this whole ranking, purchased inside a store we're telling you to be careful in. The production only works on customers who never speak to the cast. That covers the costumes. Before the number one reveal, a short intermission, because everything in this video stands on what comes next, the paper trail. If this kind of weekly digging has ever saved your family from a $7 mystery pound, the like button takes 1 second and genuinely decides which families see this next. Now, 4 companies to memorize. Tyson, Cargill, JB's, National Beef. Between them, they handle roughly 85% of America's cattle. Translated, 5 stores, 5 labels, and nearly all of it still funneled through those 4 operations. That isn't a competitive market. That's a private table set for 4, with no seat reserved for you. A major lawsuit alleged the 4 coordinated to hold back competition. Tighter supply, bigger numbers at your checkout. All 4 deny it, and no court has found any of them liable. What's beyond dispute? 3 of the 4 have signed settlement agreements, and combined, those payments clear $200 million, Cargill's $32.5 million among them, the same Cargill running Food Lion's supply. $200 million, from companies maintaining their complete innocence. Draw your own conclusion. Meanwhile, the scoreboard at your register. About $4 a pound 9 years ago, closing in on $7 today, while the national cattle herd sits at its smallest in roughly 75 years. Less supply, fewer rivals. Your skillet absorbs the difference. Next document. And this one functions as an admission. Walmart just sank $250 million into a beef facility of its own, supplied by cattle raised nearby. Hold on to that. It pays off shortly. Final document, the rule itself. As of January 1st, 2026, a package claiming product of USA must come from an animal born, raised, slaughtered, and processed inside this country with paperwork the seller can produce whenever the government asks. Before, imported beef could earn those words with little more than a repackaging stop on American ground. That loophole is closed. Yet almost nobody at the case knows the definition changed. So why does every shelf look untouched? Because the rule governs claims, not omissions. Silence remains free. Which sets up our number 1, a company that demonstrated, publicly and expensively, that honesty at scale is possible, then rationed it. Worst in the ranking, number 1, Walmart. June 2025, Olete, Kansas. Walmart opens its own beef facility and states the mission into a live microphone, promising customers more consistency, more transparency, and more value. The investment? $257 million. The result? Beef traceable to ranches within about 250 miles of the building that packs it. It's a chain of custody most butcher shops would envy, and it demolishes the industry's decades-old claim that honest sourcing can't scale. Then comes the asterisk. Roughly 600 stores receive beef from that facility. Walmart operates upward of 4,500. And the fine print of the victory lap coverage holds the detail that matters. Olathe packs premium Angus product. Steaks, roasts. The expensive end of the case. The everyday ground beef tube. The one item in this test more American households cook than any other, sits outside the program entirely, in every region. So the nation's biggest beef seller spent $250 million proving traceability works, pointed the proof at its priciest products in one slice of the map, and left the ordinary tube on the same nameless line it always rode. Why build it and then stop? Because provenance has been repositioned as an upgrade. The traceable steak functions as advertising. The anonymous tube moves the volume. Spend more, and your beef comes with a biography. Spend normally, and it comes with nothing. And the customers buying the cheap tube are the same people whose money financed the showcase they're not invited into. The credit, stated fairly. For shoppers in that region, and for ranchers battered by the concentration we just walked through, Olathe is genuine progress, and Walmart isn't wrong to be proud of it. But once you've shown you can follow a ribeye nearly back to the ranch gate, we can't say stops being an acceptable answer for the tube beside it. Walmart didn't flunk our standard. It met it flawlessly. For customers paying a premium. Reserving proof for the top shelf while everyone else gets a blank label is what first place on the worst list looks like. That's the machine in full. Now your countermeasures, usable tonight. First, the 3-question screen. Take any package from your refrigerator. Question 1. Does it carry product of USA? Since the new rule landed, that phrase is a legal commitment. The animal's entire life, birth through processing, spent on American soil, with records the government can compel. A company willing to print those words has files behind them. Question 2. Is a cut identified? Chuck. Sirloin. Round. Naming the cut means someone will stand behind what entered the grinder. A label reading only ground beef is a polite refusal. Question 3. Does it state the where and the when of grinding? Ideally this store, with a date? The word fresh carries zero legal obligation on beef packaging. A printed date carries plenty. 3 yeses means the package can survive scrutiny. 3 blanks is itself the disclosure. Second, the variance check, honest science included. Portion matching half pounds out of 2 separate packages. Cook both identically in one pan, then weigh the results and compare. Losing some weight is expected. Fat melts off, water evaporates, and a fattier grind sheds more with nothing wrong at all. The reading that matters is the spread between the two. When one sears and its twin stews, that spread is the signature of a many-source blend and the freezer miles behind it. Third, disregard the viral color test. Bright red speaks to the packaging gas, not freshness. Red is a chemistry decision. The date is the information. Fourth, the repair. Because technique can redeem even the no-name tube. Blot the beef thoroughly with. Spread the meat thin, in one layer, 2 rounds rather than a pile, since a crowded pan turns into a steam bath. Then keep your spatula away for 2 whole minutes while a genuine crust develops before you break it apart. Moisture off, heat high, hands off. That works at every store in this ranking, because a good sear was never a function of price. It was a function of water, and the water now answers to you. Last, your hierarchy at the case best to worst. A butcher processing a named cut while you watch. Then beef ground on the premises with a posted date. Then a product of USA claim paired with a named cut. And last resort, the tube that lists neither origin nor cut nor date. That's the avoidance half. Now the part this genre usually skips. 3 stores cleared the bar, and the first keeps a meat counter that shames its whole industry. Best list, number 3, Publix. No tricks here, just infrastructure. Publix maintains working meat departments doing real daily production. The house ground beef gets made on site, out of block trimmings and whole cuts, against a hard freshness deadline. Staff describe a system where each cut is scanned and followed through processing, and anything aging past its window gets discarded instead of fed to the grinder. Beef ground early in the week is gone within days, and a Publix sell-by date is an actual promise. Recall the 23 days on Kroger's premium label? Publix's version lives about 2. Ask the counter staff what went into today's batch, and you'll get a real answer, a rarity in this test, because at Publix, somebody on the premises actually holds that information. This is what a passing grade is built from. Identified cuts, a grinder you could point to, a date with meaning, and an employee able to vouch for all 3. The pan agrees steadier browning, better texture, fewer gray ambushes, because beef with a short, documented past behaves accordingly. One warning before the applause. Beside that house grind, Publix stocks sealed tubes from JBS, a name you heard minutes ago on the settlement list. And in the 2018 outbreak, the illnesses in Florida were linked to ground beef sold at Publix. The counter product and the sealed tube are different products commercially, even displayed a foot apart at similar prices. So keep reading labels inside the good stores too, here most of all, where the straight answer and the sealed mystery sit side by side. Priced against the cheapest pound in town, Publix loses. But the extra dollar purchases something no discount matches, an answer. Measured by what its own staff produce, This is one of the last legitimately honest meat counters left in American grocery. Publix offers a true counter. Number 2 on the best list, Whole Foods. Try naming another mainstream chain where this holds. At the butcher case inside a Whole Foods, a given package of ground beef reportedly traces to a single animal. The beef arrives already coarse ground, one animal's worth at a time, and receives its final grind in the store before display. One steer, one label. For contrast, a commercial grind pools trimmings from dozens of separate animals, occasionally many times that, into each pound. Why origin questions usually have no answer beyond everywhere. Whole Foods can identify the animal. Add the welfare-rated tier labels posted at the case, and an ingredient statement consisting of the single word beef, and no other mainstream American retailer runs a more traceable case grind. Now the disclosure, drawn from a federal notice rather than an internet grudge. June 2025. A prepackaged organic brand carried nationwide at Whole Foods shipped already contaminated with a dangerous E. coli strain. The government's alert published only after the product had sold out of stores. No recall was requested, since nothing remained to retrieve. The reputation around that gorgeous service case does not automatically transfer to the sealed packages parked beside it, however wholesome the typography. Publix taught the same lesson at a fraction of the price, and price is what costs Whole Foods the top spot, along with geography. When the good pound runs double the money, and the nearest location is 40 minutes of driving, an ideal you can't access on an ordinary weeknight, can't win a test about feeding families. Nothing immoral there, just a map problem, and map problems don't put dinner on tables. Which brings us to the best beef in the whole test. Number 1, Costco. The warehouse earns first place at its meat counter, and the case starts before the doors open. Employees have walked through the routine. Yesterday's unsold steaks hit the grinder at the start of the shift, and by one worker's account, whatever gets ground has to sell before early afternoon. After Thanksgiving and Christmas, the unmoved rib roasts meet the same fate. Arrive on the right morning, and the ground beef in that case spent the holidays as a rib roast. Earlier visit, better odds. Then there's the purchase most members never learn exists. At the meat counter, ask for the chub, a 10-pound tube stored in the back, never on display, typically 92 to 96% lean, and generally priced under the front trays by the pound. One shopper this year picked up a 90-10 blend at around $3 a pound, close to half the going grocery rate for that leanness. Break it into freezer portions the day it comes home, and a month of beef just cost half price with zero downgrade. Stack on warehouse pricing that fits good beef into normal budgets, tight sell-by turnover, and a refund policy that returns your money if the beef ever disappoints, and no store in this test offers a stronger total deal. The warning: because first place is not the same as flawless. The prepackaged Kirkland trays on the floor are standard commercial product, with sourcing that can stretch across the United States, into Canada, and occasionally further still. Everything praised here lives at the counter. It does not extend to every tray in the refrigerated wall, so check which version your cart is holding before checkout. On traceability alone, Whole Foods beats everybody, and will say so without hedging. But weigh label honesty, cost, and whether an ordinary family can realistically shop there every week, and the warehouse holds the title. Before you go, lock in the 4 terms this video handed you. Case ready. Beef ground at a distant central facility and shipped in already sealed, meaning nobody in the building ever touched it. High oxygen packaging. The reason a tray stays scarlet for 2 weeks while the clock runs anyway. Color is engineering, not information. Product of USA. Since this January, a binding legal claim covering the animal from birth through processing on American soil, proof required on demand while a silent label still owes you nothing. And the chub, the 10-pound tube behind the Costco counter that quietly undercuts everything displayed in front of it. 40 years went into training meat labels to say as little as possible. 6 months ago, the law finally put a cost on that silence and made the old lie a violation. What you carry out of this video is the filter. 3 questions, good for any package, in any store, in any town. Rankings age. A test in your own hands doesn't. Send it to the friend who brought home the 6-pound tray this week and doesn't yet know the printed words changed meaning. Next week, we head down a different aisle, where the label started confessing before the companies were ready for it. Keep your receipt handy. The meat case is done fooling you.